Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Tim and Rachel with the Bush Group here at Next Home Experience with our weekly podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, and we are super excited that we have a special guest on today, one of my extremely good friends, Jenny Bouchard. Thank you, Jenny, so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so for everyone watching, Jenny is one of, in my opinion, the greatest designers out there. So Jenny is the owner of Maine Mod Design. And we asked Jenny to come on today to talk about design for real estate, specifically for short-term rentals, but also for, listing and selling of real estate, things that can help. But Jenny has an absolute eye for design. We're extremely excited to have her on. One of the things her and I have in common is we have a huge love for Sugarloaf Mountain. So we'll talk about some of her new adventures that she's currently doing right now as well, and just touch base on that. So Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm pretty much going to hand this one over. A lot of times you guys see me talking, and I'm going to let Rachel and Jenny kind of run this one and kind of sit back and just enjoy the information today.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. I guess like my first question, I'm still new also. I just met Jenny in person yesterday. She's great. But my first question obviously about design is like there's so many different aspects to design. So what specifically do you work on? Like what is your expertise, or what do people call you for?
I kind of actually got into this by fault. My husband and I have flipped and built many homes. We're on our 7th house. And so the last house we built was our current house that we live in. And I just kind of started posting it like on Instagram for my own journey. And then it really took off. And then people started reaching out to me being like, hey, I love your work. Can you like help me design my house and help me pick things? So kind of snowballed from there. And now I've been able to help a lot of like local people around the Bangor area, and even people like in other states reach out to me, and I just like will consult with them on design stuff, and I help them pick everything from flooring, lighting, paint, anything they need help with, really.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, as Tim and I have spoken in some of our last podcasts here, we've chatted about how important design is, especially in short-term rentals too. We've been blown away with some of our past clients, and Tim obviously knows with his short-term rental and Sugarloaf as well, but with some of my clients here in Old Orchard Beach and also some surrounding areas as well, they really need to have that perfect design aspect in order to really bring in that sort of clientele. Do you work with some short-term rentals, or is it typically just people's homes? Or
I haven't done any short-term rentals for other people. I do have 2 of my own short-term rentals, and I have gotten great feedback so far on those, and people are always commenting on how I decorate them and the design and everything. They say it's the little details that really matter.
It is. Yeah, no, and really, I mean, that's what's bringing in a huge majority of their clientele too. So super, super important. But of course, it's not something that everybody can do either. I do have some other clients too that love the thought of a short-term rental, but the thought of design stresses them out, as it would me as well. I'm more of like a numbers and logistics person, but when it comes to design, I'm like, okay, just put this here or do that wherever. It's nice to have somebody professional like you that somebody can call and then kind of rope in too. But do you have any projects this year, either on your end or on a client base, that are maybe worth noting, or something that's exciting that's happening this year?
Yeah, I'm actually doing a renovation / big addition on one of my friends' houses in Hamden. They didn't have any functional space for a mudroom or any pantry in their house. Like, it literally just opened up into the kitchen when you opened their front door. And they have 2 kids, and they like to ice skate in the winter, and it was just becoming like a big mess in that area. So then we added on a big addition and then a 2-car garage that was attached. So we were able to add a half bath, a mudroom, and a big pantry for them.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. No, I mean, I mean, we see it too often, obviously, showing homes where like when you walk into a space, you do have a lot of space, but sometimes just due to the age of the home or whatever it may be, it's just not functional anymore. And then especially with that too, I mean, when you have kids and stuff like that, schlepping the mud and the rain and all that stuff and on the inside there. But that seems like a great project. Tim, do you have any questions for Jenny?
I think, one of the things I love about Jenny is, obviously I love her design. Jenny and I have very similar style. I like what she does with properties. I think that she makes everything like a retreat destination. She makes people want to come to that location. It's not just about, yes, they may be going to, let's say, Sugarloaf, for example, but she makes them want to stay at her Sugarloaf because of what the experience is going to be at their spot there. I think the thing, Jenny, I don't want to speak for you, but your history as a real estate agent, so you haven't just been licensed in Maine. I think you used to practice real estate in another state as well, right? Yep.
Yes,
So
I got licensed in Arizona originally when I lived in Scottsdale, and that's kind of where my love for design came from, is that I had the wonderful opportunity to work with this really awesome architect. And so I was able to see everything come like full circle, and he would go look at properties with me and they would be complete dumps. And I'm like, how is he going to make this into something magical? And he always did. And the properties would sell for millions and millions of dollars. And they would be this little tiny like 1950s ranch home, and he would turn it into this like great big grand 4,000 square foot house that was absolutely insane. And so that's where I kind of got started, and now I feel like I'm able to transfer that knowledge that I learned from him into what I do for my clients here. I've been in real estate for 10 years now, and I just love to go in. And a lot of people don't have the vision when they walk into a house. The real estate clients, they just don't understand. And they're like, how can I make this nice? And I'm just like, oh, you could move this wall. You could move the kitchen here. You could, move the bathroom here to make it more functional for them. Because as we know, the market right now doesn't have a lot of inventory. So you have to kind of help them see how they can make it something that they could love.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you somebody that we could call, obviously, as real estate professionals or even just as consumers as well? And like before we go to buy a property, even just like a video tour with you or like walking through a property with you to kind of get the vision, maybe before our clients, make an offer on a property, just to, because Tim and I together, and a lot of people on the team as well, we've got some clients that have the money and want to renovate these big, beautiful farmhouses or do something, but they just don't necessarily have the knowledge or the skill work to do that, or the creative eye for it too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love to do, is I love to go in and see how I can make it something that can fit each family, because every family is different and has different wants and needs. And that's what I love to do, is see something that can come together and make it what's going to work for them.
Yeah.
I think that's such a big point because, Rach, you said it right now, and Jenny, redesigning the home. So Libby and I actually searched for our home we just recently bought for 4 years. We looked at, there was 2 towns we were specifically looking in that we only wanted to be in those 2 towns. And we looked at every listing in those towns. Like, we've just gone up and down for 4 years, and we were like, just nothing ever felt right. And finally this year, everything in this home we found felt absolutely right. It felt like the one, but we were missing one key thing that we said we would never give up. We were like, we would never buy a house without a garage again. And so it's, I tell our clients too, in this market, there's a very good chance you're going to get a house that checks, 75 to 85% of the boxes, and it's going to be really difficult to get 100%. And I'm proof of that too. We didn't even get that, but did you buy it for that right price that you can add that on? And that's kind of where we were like, is this at the right location to where we can fiscally add this garage on at some point in time? And, whether we can or we can't, we fell in love with absolutely that house. We decided that we would do that addition at a later time. So I think that's a really big part of, our process is taking that advice from someone like Jenny, who's an absolute design whiz when it comes to seeing a space. And I haven't used the word whiz in a long time. So an absolute design whiz right there. And she crushes it with that. What would you say, Jenny, is your favorite part of a house to design? Like, so obviously taking your real estate experience when you're going to go in and change parts of the house, do you think of future resale value as well? Or are you thinking strictly of just functionality of the space at that time? What do you normally go for in that realm?
I think it depends on the client. If they're looking to have that be their forever home, I'm not necessarily concerned with the resale. I mean, that obviously is always in the back of my mind, but that needs to be functional for them for years to come. However, if they're just doing, this is a quick fix for them, this is their first home, they're planning to grow their family, things like that, then I'm going to look at the resale standpoint more than I am just necessarily the design stuff. My favorite parts are definitely bathrooms and kitchens.
Yes.
Those are, what people really focus on when they're buying a house. So the kitchen's the heart of the home, and to me, that's my favorite part, and that's the part I really focus on in my own house too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting part because we started focusing on that more on this last home journey with us as well. So the first home we had was a four-bedroom house, and the bedrooms were right. You remember you've been over there. The bedrooms were massive. Like
Mhm.
Charlotte had this huge room. The guest bedroom was massive. So we had this house that was almost 75% bedrooms. Like it was the biggest bedroom. So we were like we fell in love with it at the beginning, and we were like, oh my word, like we love this spot. We love everything about it. And then we were like, well, it's got a small kitchen, living room, and we don't have that primary bath suite that we want. And so that was the big what do we look for now and how do we functionally create that? What would you say to someone, and I think that's what everyone kind of focuses on when they think of hiring a designer like you, Jenny. They think that it's going to absolutely break the bank and there's no way they can possibly afford it. How can you work with someone that is on a budget and that doesn't maybe have, a ton of money in the bank and it is their first home? What are some ways that you can get really creative with them to help them design that space to be functional, but also something that they're really dreaming of?
So I can do a lot of consulting, which is more what I do now. I haven't had as much time now to focus. Like when I do the bigger jobs where I'm working with the builder from start to finish, I mean, those jobs take like 18 months. And it's very time consuming because I'm picking literally everything. A lot of times I'll come in and I'll say, okay, here's 3 different lighting fixtures for the bathroom. Like one will be at a low price point, middle price point, high price point. But I will already have known their style and what they're looking for and their overall goal. So that's kind of what I can do now, but not be so hands on. Like I can consult with people and say, okay, these are my ideas for you. And then it's just like a small fee, and I create like a mood board for them and they can shop themselves. Or I can do like create carts for people and they can purchase through links that I send them. I can do it either way. It kind of is custom fit to what people have for a budget, and there's really something for everyone.
That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
so you could almost, for some of our clients down here, because I know that the distance is a little far for you, even for some of my clients, like if I were to send you some videos or photos of a space, you could kind of work up a mood board or whatever it may be for that area. Like if I were to give you dimensions and all
Yeah,
of
I
that,
could
then
sketch it up for them, and if they wanted to
cool.
move something around, like as long as you could tell me where the load bearing walls were, I could sketch it up for you, sketch a whole room up for you. And
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, no, because a lot of the places down here and with a lot of our investors, we've come across these really great properties that are in really great areas, but although some of them are still in great condition, they definitely do need some sort of modernizing. They're a lot of these coastal beach homes are like the traditional like light blue teal walls and the seagulls on the ceiling and all of this stuff, and so it's like trying to figure out a way to keep it still cute Maine coastal but not tacky. So it's good to know that we could give you a call and that we could reach out to you and then have that done.
And I think that's the biggest misconception too when I talk to people about design and like kind of structuring their space, especially for say like a short-term rental and everything like that. Whenever they think of design, they think they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to re-envision the space when we're just talking maybe it just needs paint, some different light fixtures, maybe some different furniture in there, a few different accent walls. Jenny, one of the things you just did, I love. Can you talk about your project that you're doing right now and what you guys are currently kind of doing up to Sugarloaf? Because I love the accent wall you guys just did with the mountain that you were doing a couple weeks ago. That was my favorite.
yeah, so we bought this condo at Sugarloaf, and I wanted to be up there for years. I've grown up skiing, and everything up at Sugarloaf is really, really expensive. So I found a for sale by owner, and I was able to talk him down quite a bit. And then we had enough money in our budget to be able to completely update everything. Granted, the project was much more than we anticipated. We had to put a new water heater in, new heating throughout the entire place. It was a big project, but my focus there was I knew it was going to be a short-term rental. I wanted to target families, but higher end. I wanted it to be like a luxury getaway. So I really was thinking about, okay, what do I need to add for amenities to have it get to that price point and be worth what I want it to be with, but still be really family friendly. So there's 4 different floors and there's a breakaway on the bottom. So the top 3 floors, there's like a kitchen dining room area, and then there's like a little coffee bar. And then we completely opened up the kitchen because it was a galley kitchen that was really dark and small. And then it has a living room on the other side. And then on the second floor, there are 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. And then on the third floor, it was just a big open loft area with these wasted closet spaces. And I'm like, no one's going to need those huge 8-foot closets on 2 sides of a room if they're going to a short-term rental. So I blew out the closets and turned it into a huge master suite. So it's a big bathroom, and I added a soaker tub because we weren't allowed to have a hot tub where we are, and a nice big shower, and then a double vanity. And I made a kids room specifically with bunk beds with slides so that it could target, like the kids could have their own separate space. There's a Lego table in there, and an arts and crafts table. There's a reading nook. And then there's the second primary suite that has a king bed. A lot of places up at Sugarloaf have like multiple beds in all the rooms. And I wanted it to be more so private, so the kids could all stay in one room and 2 separate adult couples could sleep on the different floors.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of that. When you go away, you do want your own space at times. And every time we go away, it's, Charlotte, will absolutely demand that she is staying in the same room as us. But it is nice when they have that separate space. And, there's another short-term rental that we have with our family that they do have that space. And, the girls have their little reading room and everything over the lake. And it's just so nice that that's their space, and they know that's their space when they go there now. And then we get to go have our additional space. So I think that's a really smart idea. Rach, I think you had a question as well.
Yeah, but I guess just a comment, but I think that's how you're going to create repeat clients too, because you see so many that all look the same. And that's really, I think like these past couple of years in real estate for me was not only learning about short-term rentals, but learning really just like the whole back end of it for them, and really the thought and process that goes into purchasing a place and then renovating it and making it into this kind of getaway that you want people to come back year after year after year. And although there are a ton of properties that have a bunch of these multiple beds in them and all of that, I almost feel like with those smaller set areas, like 2 adults in one room, kids in another room, it feels more like a home. And so people are going to want to stay longer too.
I try to add like cool design features like the wall Tim said. Like I painted a wall black. I know that's really not common, but then I had my husband custom build me a Sugarloaf. It's a replica of Sugarloaf Mountain out of wood so that the wood would pop off the wall. And then I had him custom build, like I wanted a workspace for people. So he took a live edge piece of wood and ordered 2 legs off Etsy. So like they're a modern U-shaped leg that the tabletop sits on. So it's like a work desk, but it can also double as like a little breakfast bar for kids to sit and watch TV while they're eating breakfast or things like that. So I tried to be really thoughtful in the design over things that were really cool features that other places aren't going to have. And that's what it's all about, is setting yourself apart from everybody else so that people are going to look at your pictures and be like, oh, I want to stay there, because you have different touches that other people do not have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and we find too with some of our clients, a lot of their short-term rentals, there's pop off obviously with some different colors and some different design aspects. And they're the ones that get booked first. Although they're not maybe closest to the beach, although they're not maybe at the very bottom of the mountain, if they have a cool design, an awesome space to go to, something that's like different and an experience in itself rather than just a place to sleep, I feel like people really like that.
And it's about making it homey too. I mean, a lot of Airbnbs or hotels you go in don't have any little touches to make people feel like they're at home and it's not welcoming. You have to add greenery. You have to add different little pictures, like little sayings, things like that make it feel more comfortable for people. Add little things like bathrobes, things that like a nice hotel would have. Do nicer soaps or shampoos. You can buy things often in like larger quantities at Sam's Club or on Amazon and just fill them in pump bottles and then just keep refilling them every time. But use higher end stuff that's going to get you a better price point, and people notice the difference.
Yeah, I think they do too. It's my biggest thing, and obviously we've talked a lot, Jenny, about short-term rentals, and we're trying to create, we're kind of creating this beta course right now that we're trying to take a few clients through over the course of this year that we're really excited that you're going to be a part of because we want you to be a big part of it with our clients in the design because I'm a firm believer that if you don't have a theme for your house of what you're going to do at your short-term rental, then you've missed the boat right from the beginning. That you've got to come up with a theme because right now the market is flooded with short-term rentals. Everywhere you go, there are short-term rentals. And how are you going to separate yourself from the others? And really, it's within those first five pictures. Like, what can you show in those first five pictures on your short-term rental that separates you from the rest? And I think you're exactly right. Some of these design features showing the greenery, the little signs. It's amazing what I have. We've had a few short-term rentals, and I think I did it wrong the first few times because I just didn't. You don't know what you don't know, and we had tried to, cut cost and do this and do that because we're like, let's just rent it and let's just start, getting it to pay itself. Well, we quickly realized that, just trying to get it rented wasn't going to pay for anything, and then we were just down the first 3 months, and we had to then make up more money to then go pay for this. So when we went into the last Sugarloaf one, I looked at Libby. I was like, we're doing it right. Like, we're doing this one 100% right. We're going to spend it from the beginning, and we're going to make sure that it has everything it needs from day one. And I remember, emailing my property manager, and I was like, what more do I need? Like, what can I put up here? And she messaged me, and she goes, you have literally everything that we can put in here right now. She's like, there's nothing else you need to do. And I'm like, every day I still feel like there's more we can do and, take more design ideas. And, once you do get the house completely filled with everything that it needs, what can you then do to take it to the next level? So, what do you recommend, Jenny, for someone that's going to, do a starter, short-term rental budget? I know you've done a few of them. When it comes to furnishing a house, let's just say roughly 1,600 square feet, 3 bed, 2 bath. What should someone expect if they're going into that realm of, kind of decorating and furnishing it, just a clean slate home?
As far as cost, what I think it would cost to furnish it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think to furnish it right, and it also depends on the clientele you're trying to target. I mean, I would say 15 to 20,000 with dishes and everything. And you don't have to buy the most expensive things. I mean, you can go to TJ Maxx. You can just shop around and see different, like, I bought a lot of stuff on IKEA. It doesn't have to be the most expensive thing, but it has to present nicely. So you need things to be matching or at least coordinating and things like that. You can't just have a lot of Airbnbs you see are, they just kind of throw a bunch of stuff together that's from their house, and it just looks hodgepodge, and people just don't want to stay there. You want to stick with the theme that you pick and carry that throughout the entire place, not just go room to room and have it just kind of be all mismatched and not flow together.
And I know this sounds like not petty and everything, like overthinking it, but you do want to overthink like certain aspects of it. I know I've like looked at some pictures and I've been in some houses, even like showing different properties on lakes and everything like that. And you go in and you see like a sign that says like beach life or sand life, but then there is no beach, there is no sand there. And I know that it sounds petty that it's, hey, lake life would be so much different, but it sets the tone of what you're actually getting when you go there a little bit better. And it's some of those little features that, I think my mother and my sister did a lot better than me at our last one that we did up in Lincoln. I definitely was looking at, some of the wrong things with that. And, I think you're exactly right on the numbers you said. That was right around what we've kind of had invested into our last few. We're rating those numbers, and you can go higher, you can go lower depending on what you need. I think one of the most important, if I was going to go back and redo any short-term rental ever again and invest more money in this one area, it would be bedding. I would buy, our first one, we went cheap on the bedding, and I don't want to say like it wasn't a bad bed, but it just wasn't the most comfortable. And I would go back and spend an extra $1,000 this time and buy a more comfortable bed for people, because that was an area that I did cut cost on, I think, the first time. And I would have staying in them now, I would go back and redo that. If you could go back and change any of your first investments, what would you go back and do? What were some of the areas you feel like you lacked in and you feel like you kind of make up for now?
I definitely agree on the beds. I also, going to the bedding, we did a queen bed in our first Airbnb that we did, and I wish we would have started out with a king, because that was like one of the only negatives that we ever got, was that it didn't have a king bed. So I think if your space can fit it, a lot of people would prefer that. And you don't have to break the bank on a bed. I mean, we went to Mattress Firm. I'm trying to think, I have 6 beds. And so we went to Mattress Firm and we went around Black Friday and we got all of the beds we got on a deal. And we did bed in boxes. And we got Nectar beds, and they're all actually really comfortable and really great. And they didn't break the bank. They weren't like overly expensive. And then you don't have to really go all out on different frames and headboards and all of that. Just get a nice frame, and then you can get some pictures or something nice to hang over the top. You don't have to have a huge headboard that is going to cost the extra $500 or $600. There's other things you can do to kind of skirt around cost but still make it look really nice.
So I think the one question everyone has, and obviously we're not live on this right now, so we can't take live questions. Is gray still in? Is gray the color?
Gray is actually going out.
Is it going out? Okay. So tell us what's the color schemes right now that people are looking for. I know, one of the agents on our team, she is painting her house right now, and I've been very adamant that I don't like some of the paint colors, and I've been we've been going back and forth. But she's going more of the greens right now. Are the greens in?
Bold
she's
colors?
She's sitting right next to me right now, so I'm putting her on the spot. But
no, bold colors are in 2023. It's bold colors are coming back. In short-term rentals, typically, I will always paint everything white, and I know people are like, white, why would you paint? That's so bland. But I always like to change my decor. I do it often. My husband hates me for it because I do it so often here. Every season, I'm throwing stuff away. My basement looks like a TJ Maxx. But I like to constantly bring in color in different ways. So if I have a neutral base to start with, then I can constantly be switching things out and adding different colors. And it doesn't matter what my base is, and I'm not going to always be painting the walls. White is also great to have in rentals because you can quickly paint over it if something happens, or, it's just easy to clean. Mm-hmm. Not many people agree with that, but it's worked for me.
I love white. I'm great with that paint color. I think, Libby, at our first house, we had 6 different paint colors throughout the house, and it just stressed me out. I don't know why that stressed me out. A lot of people loved them. They weren't in your face colors. Rach, you'd been to that house before. I mean, the colors didn't destroy you, but it just stressed me out going into every room and having a different color. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just weird on that, but
yeah.
It's the women in my life are going to absolutely destroy me now to hear that bold colors are back in, and I've been pushing grays because I'm a big fan of the grays.
Now, Jenny, for this year, I guess my final question is for our sellers on the Bush Group and just in Next Home in general, and everybody around the state. What is your big recommendation for if somebody's been living in a house for 5-10 years? What do you recommend that they do, obviously, before they list, amongst the other things of decluttering and cleaning and all of that? I think that sometimes things tend to get a little outdated. Where do you suggest people look for first for maybe just some quick fixes and updates on their home in order to maybe help it sell quicker?
When I walk into a house, I always want to have people envision themselves living there. So you want your buyers to be able to feel like they can picture themselves there. So take a lot of personal things off the walls, make the walls more blank so that they can see what is going to work for their stuff there. A little bit of paint goes a long way. If they've got some wild colors on the wall, paint them neutral. That is going to go so far. Maybe updating just electrical covers, the outlet switch covers, little things like that. That's really inexpensive, can make a big difference. But sometimes you go into houses and they have a kids sports themed one, or they have But it's people, when they're buyers in there, they're constantly thinking in their mind, okay, I'm going to have to change that. I'm going to have to change that. I'm going to have to change that. But if you start from a blank slate, essentially, then they can more so see themselves in there without automatically going in there and thinking, okay, I'm going to have to do this, this, and this. And that can turn buyers off a lot of times because of the little things that they're going to have to do on top of them moving and all the other things they already have to do.
Exactly. So probably in that case, the more bland, the better there. So
less
don't
is
try
more.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Anything for you, Tim?
No, she's absolutely right. The house we just bought this last year, um, the couple that lived there before with their family, we were good friends with them. They're great people, but we loved their design. Like they were awesome in their design. She had a great flow to the house, but we did move in and didn't have to do anything. So we've been there and we haven't had to change a single thing. So I think Jenny's spot on with that recommendation there, because sometimes it's not, you don't have to be over the top. Less is best sometimes with when it comes to it, decluttering. I think that's some great recommendations there. Jenny, we're going to put you on the spot. One last question. What is your forecast this year with the market? Do you see short terms staying where they are? Do you think people are going to keep investing? Do you think the market is going to stay in a stable state? As someone that's seen a lot of different realms of real estate, what can you give our viewers today, and just kind of one last thought on what the market is going to look like in your opinion?
I think that people are always going to be investing. I mean, I look at myself and I know that from when I was a little kid, my family's always invested in real estate, and I know that is going to always pay off in the long run. So I think people will continue to see that. However, with the prices right now, I'm not sure that everyone's going to be jumping into that like they were in the past few years. I think we'll see it stable out a little bit. And I think that will be helpful for those of us who have been in the game for the long haul, not just to see what we can dabble with.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I think that's
Totally.
great advice. Jenny, we'll give you a quick minute real quick. Anything you want to just say before we head off here? Anything, plugs you want to put in for the design and everything you do?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I want people to always remember, don't overthink it. I mean, just go with what you think is best. And if you aren't sure what to put in a space, don't put anything.
Yeah.
or
call a professional too.
Right. Or ask a friend, ask someone who does have a design eye.
Yeah.
And I do recommend, if you're going to like add things to your house, like while your spouse is at work and they come home late at night, like tell them beforehand, because Libby scared me so bad this week. There was this corner over off of our kitchen dining room into our living room where nothing's been there. And she added some greenery, and it's like this tall tree that we've never had in there before. And I came down the stairs and I thought someone was in our house, and it scared me so bad. So always let someone know when you're updating. Don't scare us like that. Keep us informed, because we need to know too.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jenny, and thank you so much for the chat today. It's obviously been super insightful for me, but I know it's going to be great for our listeners as well. And I know Tim and I are looking forward to getting your creative eye on some of our properties this year.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next week. And just remember, this won't be the last. We'll have Jenny back on here again. So if there's anything we missed, anything you're just dying to know for information, please reach out. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel. We're on Spotify as well now. And we want to know what you guys want for content. So if there's something you really want us to cover, lenders you want us to bring on, we had Rosanne Larrabee on here last week. We're going to bring on some of our next homies from across the country to talk about some of their areas for rentals. We're also going to be connecting with them at conference here in a month or so. So there's a lot of different things we can cover. We want to make sure that we are connecting with you guys. So just let us know what you want for information. And as always, if there's anything you need for real estate, call the Bush Group here at Next Home Experience.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Jenny, you're a rock star.